tonight. Time to sharpen those pencils. It's back to school for thousands of kids across the province.
Science rights are human rights!
And as students start new classes, teachers are having to navigate a new policy that has many on edge.
The truth is, it's something I'm losing sleep over.
How you doing, Regina Folk Fest?
Plus, the Regina Folk Fest clears house as it looks to reevaluate its future.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It's Tuesday, September 5th. CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Hello, I'm Natasha Lipney, and thank you for joining us. The temperature has dropped, the leaves are changing color, and 190,000 students headed back to school today.
A school bus! A school bus. Hi! A school bus.
It's big day. He was very excited since last night, and he can't even sleep.
Parents, some proud, some nervous, dropped off their kiddos at school for their first day. More than 20,000 teachers and support staff were ready to greet students across Saskatchewan. And at a couple of schools, SGI and police were on hand to remind drivers to slow down. The speed limit at elementary schools and playgrounds remains 30 kilometers an hour. That's in effect from 7 in the morning to 7 at night, 365 days a year. High schools don't have the same 30-kilometer limit, but going too fast or pulling a U-turn won't cost you.
U-turns are prohibited in any school zone or school area. That includes high schools. And the fines for speeding in a school zone start at $250, and then it's $2 for every kilometer that you're over the posted speed limit. So they are expensive, but the idea is to change that behavior because of the little ones that are running around these school zones that aren't necessarily paying attention to traffic.
Kane says you can expect a heavier presence in school zones this month. A new school year can bring about a lot of change, and this year, one new policy has already garnered a lot of attention. Students under 16 now require parental permission to go by a different first name or use different pronouns at school. As Jesse Anton reports, the repercussions for teachers who don't follow those rules remain unclear.
Truth is, it's something I'm losing sleep over.
At this time of year, elementary school teacher Steve Boutillier is usually excited about his job. But this September, that's overshadowed by a policy he says is hazy and anxiety about how best to support his gender-diverse students.
This is another thing being added to already overwhelmed teachers across the province who are barely keeping their heads above water.
Under the minister's directive, teachers are now obligated to inform the student's family if they're under 16 and want to change their first name or pronouns at school. The province says the rule gives parents more oversight of their child's development. Reviews from parents are mixed.
I'd really like the teacher to communicate it with me, especially I'm a Christian, so I want my kid to be called by her gender. So I want to be notified.
There are some parents that don't agree with that, and those poor kids are going to struggle even more now with the fact that they don't have that necessarily that safe space.
Trans rights are human rights! Trans rights are human rights!
Hundreds of people attended a rally in Regina over the weekend to protest the changes, including high school teacher Brendan Dickey. As someone who's openly gay and uses he/they pronouns, he worries what this policy might mean for both him and his students.
I feel far more uncomfortable now even saying my own pronouns in a classroom because I don't want there's this platform of hate now essentially that kids have.
School divisions are now in charge of enforcing the province's new policy. The Ministry of Education tells CBC News it expects the rules to be followed. But the Saskatchewan Teachers Federation says the exact consequences for those who don't is still unclear.
No one was consulted in this policy, and so there's a lot of questions that everyone in the education sector hold, and we are waiting for those answers.
Meanwhile, Dickey says he'll find a way to keep validating these students, and he knows he's not the only one. Jesse Anton, CBC News, Regina.
The education minister says there will be supports for students who don't feel comfortable disclosing their wishes to their parents, but two groups still say the policy is unconstitutional. UR Pride and Egal Canada were in court this morning, and a date has been set for arguments in Regina 2 weeks from now. Egal's legal director says it's also seeking an injunction to have the policy paused while the judge reviews the arguments.
The court will hear arguments about whether or not the policy is constitutional, but we'll also hear submissions on why, while the court takes the time to decide for itself whether the policy is constitutional, why it should suspend the policy's operation.
Lawyers for both sides will be in court on September 19th. Police in Saskatoon are looking for a suspect in connection to the city's most recent homicide. They say Carrie Daniel Bluebell is a person of interest in the death of Melissa Bear. She was found injured in a home on the 1100 block of St. Paul's Place last Tuesday. Bear was taken to hospital but died a short time later. Police say Bluebell already has warrants for his arrest. If you know his whereabouts, you can contact Saskatoon Police or call Crime Stoppers. Two of the main organizers behind the trucker convoy that snarled downtown Ottawa last winter are now standing trial. The judge-only trial heard opening arguments from the Crown attorney today.
You're gonna win. How do you expect today?
Excuse us, everyone.
Tamara Leach from Alberta and Chris Barber from Saskatchewan have been charged with mischief, counseling others to commit mischief, intimidation, and obstructing police. They were the high-profile faces of the demonstration against the COVID-19 public health restrictions. The protest gridlocked the blocks around Parliament Hill for 3 weeks in the winter of 2022. Organizers raised millions of dollars for the movement. Regina Folk Festival has hit a critical point in its 50-year history. Amid financial difficulties, it has laid off all of its staff except for the two top leadership positions. The festival almost met their ticket sales target this August, but the organization is still facing significant challenges. 4 permanent staff and 1 contract worker lost their jobs. Artistic director Amber Goodwin says she and the executive director are keeping their jobs and will work with the board to get the festival back on its feet.
This fall is going to be focused on, seeing where we're at financially and making plans about the future. It's a very serious moment for the Folk Fest. This is why we are working on fundraising this fall, as well as continuing to connect with our partners and funders about the needs of the festival in order for this festival to continue into the future.
Goodwin says the staff were informed about the layoffs in early July. The organization won't be organizing Winterruption concerts this year. The CFL has suspended Saskatchewan Roughriders defensive end Pete Robertson for 1 game. That's after he headbutted Winnipeg's quarterback on Sunday.
Polaris keeps it, gets it away, incomplete, might have been deflected at the line, and that brings up 3rd down.
It was late in the 4th quarter and after the play when Robertson headbutted Zach Collaros, knocking him to the turf. There was no penalty called at first, then a late flag was thrown. Robertson received an unnecessary roughness call and was allowed to continue playing. Collaros had to leave the game for 3 plays, but was eventually able to return. Saskatchewan squeaked out a 32-30 overtime win. Robertson will serve the suspension by sitting out Saturday's game in Winnipeg. Dreams of bringing professional soccer to Saskatoon have been put on ice. A press release issued by Prairieland Park Corporation states changing economic factors and competing financial priorities as the reasons for putting a pin in the project, at least for now. Prairieland had teamed up with the Living Sky Sports and Entertainment to bring Saskatchewan's first Canadian Premier League franchise team to the city. First, they needed a stadium and were eyeing up building on the old horse racing track at Marquess Downs. About a year ago, Prairieland's board chair was hoping fans could see games as early as 2024. That is, if they could secure $28 million. Now, Prairieland Park Corporation says it has to focus its budget elsewhere. Regina's Food and Yard Waste program is kicking off this week. You can expect your green bin to be emptied weekly for the rest of the summer and every other week during the winter. The city says the new compost program is expected to cut a household's garbage in half. So where's the compost going? It's being sent to a compost site at the Regina landfill for now, until a private composting facility takes over. Well, isn't that a sight for sore eyes? Air quality alerts lifted across the province today after a week of smoky skies. Regina and Saskatoon have actually experienced record wildfire smoke this year. Will the weather hold up for us during these last few weeks of summer? Ethan Williams will hopefully have some answers for us after the break.
This weather update is brought to you by Capital GMC Buick Cadillac. Truck Mania is on now.
And joining us now is weather specialist Ethan Williams. Ethan, clear skies, are those going to continue like those beautiful skies behind you, or are those going to cloud over, smoke over anytime soon this week?
Yeah, I think we're in store for some sunnier days, especially in South and Central. I hope we're going to see the smoke go away. My throat is suffering just a little bit from that, as you can tell. But for the next couple of days, it appears that'll be the case. But for the first day of school today, boy, it was a nice, clear, sunny day in a lot of the province. And it was a little bit cool, too. Definitely felt like fall. Didn't get much above these temperatures in South and Central Saskatchewan today, especially in Regina, Saskatoon. This is about where we topped out at this afternoon, just a bit below normal for this time of year. But this is the reason why we're so clear. We have this big area of high pressure in place after some cloudier and rainier weather yesterday. The same cannot be said in many other portions of the country, though, including on the West Coast. And we're seeing some pretty severe weather through Ontario, where they are seeing close to 40-degree weather in some portions of that province. It's been very hot and expected to be so for the next few days. The only remaining lingering part of our smoke that we are seeing in the province is in the southwest, where there is still an air quality advisory in effect for the Cypress Hills, Shaunavon, East End area. But even that is beginning to clear now, and that is a much improvement from all of those air quality statements that we saw in the province over the weekend. Now, with things clearing out and getting a little cool tonight, there is the possibility of frost in portions of southeastern and east central Saskatchewan. Temperatures only around 3 degrees here in this part of the province tonight, and it will be mostly clear. And in case you're wondering, no, this is not early for frost in that part of the province, at least. Around September 2nd to 8th is when that usually can be seen, and even can be as early as August 24th. So it may seem early, but it is not. Now, things are cloudier and warmer on the western side of the province thanks to this low pressure system beginning to advance, bringing rain through west central and northwestern sections tonight. That's going to continue to move through the north tomorrow. South and central, some spotty showers potentially. I think southern Saskatchewan and Regina will be mostly sunny. On the backside of that, though, heading into Thursday morning, maybe a few scattered showers in south and central as the north begins to clear out. Generally about 5 to 10 millimeters through the night tonight and tomorrow. Could be some pockets of maybe 15 millimeters in places in the Churchill region. Now, as the north gets the rain, the south will start to see winds pick up a little bit, 40 to 50 likely tomorrow, strongest in southern Saskatchewan before those diminish Thursday. The good news is stronger winds tomorrow are coming from the south, so that means that all that smoke continues to move out of here. But as we get into Thursday, those kind of north and westerly winds begin to start moving that next plume of smoke in, especially into northern Saskatchewan. But for Regina, things pleasant tomorrow other than the winds a little bit breezy at times. We're back into those summer-like conditions, and then things kind of evening out from there. Really nice temperatures, even our overnight lows not really getting all that low at all, and kind of keeping us out of that risk of frost as we head into the weekend and the beginning of next week. In Saskatoon, pretty similar picture. I think we're looking for a partly sunny day tomorrow, maybe some showers through the day possible, and a little bit breezy with those winds from the south, but then things really clear out. Temperatures remaining quite nice, and those overnight lows kind of staying in that 5 to 10 degree range. So Natasha, for the first part of September here, and for the kids heading back to school, things looking pretty uneventful, but pretty pleasant too.
Certainly does. Thank you, Ethan.
You bet.
How are you? Good. Good. Are you playing or watching?
Saskatoon Star is one of the first players to sign with the Professional Women's Hockey League. Amelia Clark inked a 3-year deal with the new Ottawa team. The 27-year-old will be playing alongside fellow Olympians Brianne Jenner and Emmerance Maskmeyer. The trio won 2 of the last 3 World Championships. The PWHL will open its inaugural season in January with teams in the capital, Toronto, Montreal, Boston, Minneapolis, St. Paul, and the New York City area. We'll be back after the break.
When it comes to your news, you want up-to-the-minute access. Anytime, anywhere. Get the facts straight from the source. Download the free CBC News app or visit cbcnews.ca for news you can trust.
It's been 1 year since Canada's deadliest mass stabbing. And for people living in James Smith Cree Nation, it's been 365 days of grief, fear, and trying to cope with immense trauma. The CBC's Sam Sampson spoke with those who lost family members in the attacks about searching for answers and how they are trying to rebuild their lives.
This is what Daryl Burns loves. His family, a chariot race, temporary solace.
When I'm doing this, it takes my mind off of all the turmoil.
What would you tell your sister?
I tell her we're trying to move on. How big of a hole she left in our lives.
Daryl's sister Gloria was among 11 killed last year. On September 4th, 32-year-old Miles Sanderson went from house to house in James Smith Cree Nation, stabbing his own community members. He fled, killed another man in the nearby village of Weldon, then vanished. RCMP arrested him almost 4 days later, but they say he went into medical distress and died, leaving the community with no answers about what triggered the attacks. 11 people dead, 17 others hurt.
This is complex trauma at its finest.
Glenda Watson is one of 8 therapists working with families who lost loved ones.
They're so hypervigilant, they're stuck in this state. How can I assist you to get out of the state for a moment so you can feel a sense of calm, connectedness, groundedness? Because that's literally all they were trying to do was, I need to learn to function again.
Fear of violence pervades this community every day. A security team patrols James Smith 24/7. Local health officials say they're trying to address mental health issues, trauma, and substance abuse, struggles many believe led to the attacks. Ottawa has promised money, which will go into programming and research for a new wellness center. Brian Burns, known as Buggy, finds safety in ceremonies like horse dances.
As soon as I get out, I just feel refreshed, like a brand new me again.
Buggy lost his wife Bonnie and oldest son Gregory. Another one of his sons survived his stab wounds. Buggy combines tradition with counseling and sobriety.
I didn't want to lose my boys, leave my boys. We already lost so much, so I put the bottle away. Yeah, that's good enough for her.
As an addictions counselor, Daryl Burns helps others untangle the darkest parts of their lives. The attacks compounded that already complicated work.
We've never had someone stab 11 members of their own, basically their own family. So how do we heal from it? We don't know. Everyone's different, so we need to try and do as many different things as we can. We've had hundreds and hundreds of years of oppression. If we can start making our children proud of themselves, that's going to be huge for our future. So we have to keep going, no matter how hopeless it seems, we have to keep going.
In this moment, at least.
Yay!
Everything is okay. Sam Sampson, CBC News, Prince Albert, Saskatchewan.
We'll be there for the community as long as they need it, and obviously it takes more than just dollars. It takes all kinds of different inputs to help people heal from a tragedy like this.
The Federal Minister of Indigenous Services, Patty Hajdu, visited James Smith Cree Nation yesterday to mark the anniversary. The chiefs held a press conference, but otherwise requested privacy for the community. They gathered for a powwow over the weekend.
Been a year and through a lot of struggles and, a lot of feelings that are still hurt. And, things like this, gatherings like this, kind of inspires them and to motivate them to bring themselves back up, and we're not going to forget about them.
Honestly, my anxieties were a little bit high. I was anxious coming here, but now that I'm here, I don't really want to leave because we're all a community and we're all coming together, and I'm feeling good about it.
An inquest into the events of September 4th, 2022 is scheduled for January in Melfort. A second inquest into Miles Sanderson's death in police custody has been pushed to February or March. And Ethan is back with another look at our weather forecast.
And tomorrow morning in Regina, we are looking at a mix of sun and cloud. I think we're going to be starting with maybe a little bit hazy, just a little bit of smoke, but not too much in the area. But those southeast winds beginning to pick up in the morning hours, close to 40, and those are only going to be increasing as we head through the afternoon. But smoke should begin moving out. Southerly winds helping that, close to 50 kilometers an hour, looking at temperatures around 21. On our way to a high, though, of around 26 tomorrow in Regina. Saskatoon, we could start possibly with the chance of a shower tomorrow morning. Otherwise, a mix of sun and cloud. Again, those winds will be a little bit gusty from the south as well. But heading into the afternoon, that chance of showers dies off. We see a little bit more sunshine. Things will be a tad breezy here and there, and maybe a little bit hazy as well through the afternoon. I want to introduce you to Peanut. Peanut is an English bulldog who loves going for walks around Wascana Lake. And thanks so much to Heather who sent this in. And Peanut, Natasha, going to have a lot more opportunities to take nice sunny walks this week.
I'm a huge fan of Peanut.
Me too.
Thank you so much for the photo.
You bet.
The city of Humboldt's historic water tower is making music with the help of a Montreal sound artist. Jen Reimer received a national grant to record sounds inside the tower, then mix them and play them back inside the space. CBC videographer Trevor Bothwell got to take in the unique concert.
I set up a durational performance in the water tower. When I came here, I was going to different spaces across the country, and when I came here, the wind was so present, and it activated the resonant frequencies of the tower. Well, there's 900 feet of cables at least, and there's 6 loudspeakers, 6 studio monitors, and then there's 6 surface transducers that I've attached to the staircase, and then a subwoofer, 3 subwoofer transducers. I'm using pre-recorded sounds, so I know which sounds I'm using, but sometimes from the outside there'd be a tone, or the train would go by, and that would influence what I decide to do next. So I am listening and I'm responding based on what's happening in that moment.
The tone surprised me, the range of tones, and the great music that there was. It wasn't just sounds, there was actually rhythm and all the other things that make good music.
I'm encouraging people to go up the stairs and hear it from different perspectives, because I think it is a walking composition where it changes depending on where you are in the space. On the bottom of the tower, it's really, you can feel the vibrations, like the physical vibrations of the sound, whereas as you go to the top, it becomes more like the higher frequencies come out. So every performance will be different.
I thought it was a wonderful opportunity. I'm very thankful for the vision of the artist who recognized what could be done in there and went ahead and played around and created a great show.
Well, that's it for us tonight. For news anytime, head to cbc.ca/sask. You can also subscribe to the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel. Ethan and I will be back with more local news at 11. Thanks for watching and have a great night.